Hello, Nomads, and welcome to episode 120 of the Nomads of Fantasy podcast. My name is Brandon. I am your cartographer. Can I be a cartographer? I'm your host, but I am not alone. Usually when I'm surveying the world around me, I bring a couple people with me. This time I brought, as usual, Dave.
You can't use an old map to explore a new world. Albert Einstein.
Oh,
He knows what's up.
yeah, he knew some things. And Eric.
Great cartographer Jonas Irving once said, "What is a map but a journey to the soul?" I just completely made that shit up.
Whoa! That is a journey. Holy shit.
It's a tricky one to talk about maps, but yeah, that's what this episode's about. We're talking about specifically video game maps. More specifically, video game map menus. I think that's the proper
Yes, the
label that they probably use.
The
in the industry.
in-game UI, the actual map you're
some-
using to navigate your way through the world.
Yeah,
The UI ties in there too. Yeah,
For sure, it's part of it.
We'll be touching on some mini maps and UI elements and all that stuff. The experience and so forth with these maps and games. But yeah, we're not talking about the map that you're walking around in the game or jumping around on. Not that. It's when you're like, where do I go next? Where have I been? Where am I? How big is this game? You pull up a map. And that's what we're talking about specifically. And
some are much better than others. It's sad to say.
Some are very well
yeah,
designed.
oh, absolutely.
Some detract, some enhance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a very overlooked element. It's something that we all use, but we don't really talk about enough. And I had to go online and kind of find some articles or videos or anything like that to talk about this stuff. I found a good one. I want to do a shout out to Didi Satzinger. I hope I said that right. They wrote an excellent article for usatoday.com. So yeah, if you type video game maps USA Today, you will come across this article that Didi wrote, and it really goes in depth.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to bring up the actual title of the article just to give that shout out. It is called "The Joy of Video Game Maps as a World Building Device."
What's great about finding this article is so this person they're like a creative, they're like an art director or a designer, and they worked specifically on the map for Soma. So a couple episodes back for our horror indie video game episode, one of Eric's picks was Soma, Soma. And do you remember the map in that game?
It's interesting because they even say in the article that the map isn't meant to help you navigate around the game world. You find these maps around and you can look at them, but you don't take it with you. They're just in the environment and you can get a sort of a layout of the area that you're in. But I don't think I ever actually saw one of those, or maybe I just missed it and didn't stop to look at it.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't remember ever looking at a map in that game. Okay. But it's just interesting that it's part of the in-game world, and it's something you can look at that might help you, but it's also something that you can completely miss.
Well, like games use maps completely differently. Like something like Soma might have like general things where like, there's a house over here, house over there, but a lot of them it's like a balance of like whether the game wants you to like visually know where you are, or if you're just looking for like the next icon to go pick up something, or
right.
There's a lot of different ways that they are used.
They have a big role in the games we play, in like especially these days. Back in the day, you didn't really see maps too much, but over time, as technology got better, you saw them being added, and as these games get so big, yeah, there's just so much that you kind of need a map to kind of show just how big this game world is that you're going to be exploring. But before we get ahead of ourselves, one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about video game maps is, if you follow the show, you know that we made a little side project. It was a little fun game I kind of created on Twitter where I was taking screenshots of video game maps, and then I would ask people to like, I don't know, like guess the map, and then I would zoom out more and I kept doing that. And I go to Eric and Dave and I go like, hey guys, why don't we make a game? And we did. So we designed a little website called whatmapgame.com, and you're just trying to guess. Yeah, Eric is pulling up. So there's a visual component to this episode. If you are listening to it, we encourage you to check the YouTube. But don't worry, we're not going to go so full video and visual on this one. We will talk through a lot of this stuff, but
Yes,
it'll be
please.
the more enhanced.
This is, I mean, I do the video production for our episodes, and I don't, I have some effort put into it, but this one is more effort than usual, getting all, gathering all the maps that we're going to talk about together, making a new layout and everything. So youtube.com/@nomads of fantasy to check out the video version. Like Brandon said, I pulled up the actual website for whatmapgame.com. But yeah, this was sort of the inspiration of why we wanted to talk about video game maps and what makes them so special and how they can be integral to every video game. So
we're not big on maps or anything like that. It's not like we have any attachment to that. It's just something that we've kind of found ourselves liking, and I think maybe because the name of the podcast is Nomads of Fantasy, and it's not too far to think like, hey, maps, you explore, you go check out all these different worlds, you're going to need a map of something like that. So I think maybe we're just noticing the role of a map in at least the video games that we're playing. And yeah, it's a fun topic. Not a lot of content out there, so
we've had this conversation a couple times, like while we're like playing something multiplayer or whatever, like just appreciating little things. Like, we always have that conversation where like you run down a hallway and somebody worked for like 2 or 3 weeks on that hallway, and you just run through it and you never see it again, and you just like take time to like stop and appreciate the things that people make, the work that and
right,
creativity that goes into game UI, game maps, all that kind of stuff. It's something that gets kind of glossed over a lot of times.
And we'll get into this, but a good map is, something that you might take for granted and you might not notice if it's designed well enough. So, but we'll get into all
that's
that.
usually the case, right? If a designer does a really good job, you don't notice it.
Exactly.
But yeah, this episode is for lovers and makers of the video game maps. This one's for you. And I think before we wrap up the first act here and get into the full conversation, Dave, what is coming up next on the show?
Well,
is it the Goonies?
Is
it the Goonies?
We're taking a little break for Thanksgiving to give thanks for all the games that we play, but the week after that we will be watching and talking about the Goonies, which I'm excited for because I've seen it 100 times. Eric's never seen it.
Never
Brandon,
seen the Goonies. No.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be an interesting one to chat about. Like, there's so many little things that have been burned into my brain about this movie. But
there's a pretty badass map in that one too, right? Looking for
the One-Eyed Willie
treasure, right?
Yeah.
Map,
I know about the treasure map. Don't
go too far.
Yeah, I thought there was a map. Yeah, okay, all right. Some maps.
And then the week after that, we'll be doing our catch up for November, talking about what we played and seen. All sorts of stuff going on and games coming out this year. And then for our holiday episode to close out the year, we're going to be watching the holiday classic of Gremlins, which I haven't seen in a long time.
It's been a while for me too. So
I remember trying to watch it for thinking that it was a Halloween movie because it's Gremlins, and then it's definitely a Christmas movie. So
probably one of the ones you can make the argument for, like, oh, it takes place during Christmas, but is it a Christmas movie?
I mean, there's people dressed up as Christmas trees in it, like scenes take place on a Christmas tree lot. So yes, absolutely. It's more a Christmas movie than Die Hard. How's that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess I have, like I said, I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't remember all the Christmas stuff, but I'm excited to watch it again.
Okay.
It's just a fun movie.
Yeah. That'll close out our year. So, we got a couple of things coming up. So excited to get into these classics that we're going to be touching on.
Yes. All right. All good stuff. So let's wrap up here. And when we come back, we'll be talking about video game maps.
Hold on to your butts.
What map?
What map?
we are back, and I'm sure you got here because you had your map with you. So thanks. You can put that away for a little bit as we dig into video game maps. Man, it's just it sounds kind of dorky. It sounds like why would you make an episode about this? But you know, we were talking about how it's overlooked and all that, and Dave was kind of getting into this a little bit, but if you're playing a game that's kind of going away with icons everywhere and like you kind of have to role play a little bit and it's a little bit more immersive. So right now, Eric, this is actually hilarious. If you're watching the video version, Eric is streaming his computer screen as well as our beautiful faces, and you'll see all the tabs he has open in his browser. It looks like
they
like
can't
30
see
of
that
them.
part, but there's a lot of them. I
okay.
I hid the tabs part just to give it illusion that
Oh,
I'm doing something fancy
that's
in the
funny.
background.
Well, excuse me.
Pulling up his spot.
But yes,
Yeah,
I have a lot of
good job with
tabs
producing
open
that.
with different various map images.
But the one that you have open right now is so dear to my heart.
It's a good one
and
to
I
start
think
on.
that was kind of Firewatch.
Yes.
So when I played that game, and if you haven't played that game, I don't think we're gonna spoil anything here, but like the guy is out in the wilderness, in like I don't know, in the 80s, right? So to get around the area, he has to have a map, and it's a very basic game. It's really just like it's like a walking simulator.
Walking
They call
simulator.
it.
Don't call it a
You
walking
know,
simulator.
it's like a 2-button kind of game.
That's
But you
I
walk
feel
around
like
it, it's beautiful.
I feel like
but
walking simulator has a bad connotation. It's gained a bad
Yes.
reputation, but it's not. I love walking. I love that genre.
I do too.
First-person narrative game. That's what I.
First-person narrative walking simulator.
But what I want to say, it was my first, right, of that genre. And when and everything at that point was familiar, but when they told me to like go to this location, they said pull up my map or you get the map or whatever. I like smiled. I was like filled with joy with this game mechanic where instead of me hitting select or hitting up or Y or whatever, and then like a screen pops up over my first person view and shows me like a map, a 2D map. But I love that the character's hands, his left hand's holding the map and his right hand has a fucking compass in it. And that's how you navigate. You have to look around, and I just think that is a great way of world building, storytelling, and feeling like you are that character.
Yeah, it keeps you immersed in the environment. It doesn't like break you out like you're going to another screen, and at the same time, it kind of keeps your brain like engaged in the environment that you're in, rather than just like looking
hitting
at the
a
next
pause
checkpoint,
screen, or
highlighting the next
menu.
pickup that you want to pick up, and then running
in
a straight line towards the next collectible that you got to get, which is kind of annoying the way that games do that these days.
Can we drop the I feel like this word is overused, but it's become big in the nomenclature for video games, is diegetic UI. This idea that something that you're interacting with in the user interface is actually existing in the game world, which is this example that we see here with Firewatch. When you pull up your map screen, you hit the button, it, like Brandon said, he's holding a physical map, and he also has a compass in his other hand to orient yourself in the world. Normally you would hit the pause screen and it would bring up pause the game, take you completely out of the game itself, bring up a separate menu, and then you're scrolling around a map looking where you go. But like this,
do you have
diegetic UI is that is another great example of diegetic UI, and I think
Naughty Dog
really well.
Naughty Dog
kind of started doing it with the Uncharted games, where they were having Drake pull open his like little Indiana
journal,
Jones,
dude.
Yeah, he had his notebook,
and you would flip through the pages to kind of figure
Tomb
out
Raider games.
those do.
They did too. Yeah.
I love that.
And
I'm such a sucker for that.
Mm-hmm.
Does Red Dead? No, they don't have it. He just has a journal in that. That's not the same. There's a regular map in Red Dead 2, but there's also the journal separate from the app.
But I mean, Red Dead did something that not a lot of other games do as well, is they give you options, and we're going to talk about UI a little bit, but for instead of having like a little mini map in the corner, you can pull up the regular map and highlight a place that you want to go to, and normally you just follow the roads, but you can get rid of the mini map and just put a little compass at the top where it's not showing you a map of the screen. you just have a compass at the top of the screen that just tells you what general direction to head in, which is
Yeah.
also a nice thing to kind of keep you in the game world, I thought.
Yeah,
Ubi's
it's tough with the, just to expand on Dave's point a little bit, it's tough with the mini maps. I mean, mini maps are part of map UI. It's not the main map screen, but you can get into trouble with a mini map where you are just constantly staring at that instead of looking at the game itself. Because you have, especially with like GTA games and Red Dead, you're looking at that mini map. It shows you that where, you know, it's leading you to the next quest marker, and that's exactly what you're looking at. You're not actually looking at what's happening in the game. So
Do you remember Halo's minimap was pretty cool? It just shows you where the sound or whatever the vibrations are coming from. They're just little dots. And you can see that where they are relative to you, but you do not see the world environment at all in that minimap.
And in
so
that
that's
universe,
a really good point.
In that universe,
Don't
it
want
makes
to take
sense
your eyes off of it.
because the minimap in Chief's visor, that's probably what it would look like. It's like a sonar radar thing. So I mean, you don't think of that as something diegetic, but everything, like in a Halo game, I think everything that you're seeing on screen is things that are
the
apparent
ammo
on
and the assault rifle.
Yeah, they're on, you know,
being built into
Chief's
it.
visor. Yeah.
Yeah, or it's on the yeah, exactly. Even how they warp the screen a little bit when you play Halo games. If you take the time to look around the HUD, the screen, you'll see that it's kind of like his visor.
Yep.
So yeah, that's cool that their mini maps did that. And mini maps are great, but they can also be bad. Same with maps, like they can take you in and out. And I think when we were talking about like Last of Us or Firewatch, they made that decision. It's like no, we want to do this, and I wonder why other games don't do it. And it's kind of hard. But I was going to say earlier, Ubisoft, man, their name, you can't talk about maps and all this stuff and direction and where to go without Ubisoft, because it's weird. It's funny. As I was researching this, which researching this is fun. You hop in and out of a lot of games real quick and just hit that button and see the map. But Ubisoft, they make really beautiful maps, worlds, like the world. Like when you pull the map up, right? Any of the Assassin's Creed games, Firewatch, Far Cry, those maps are actually really well designed, and I love how they're 3D and I can move around and all that stuff. But they ruin it by putting all these icons all over the place, and it gets very distracting. And it kind of it's to the point where you don't have that sense of exploration. Where I think when I look at Legend of Zelda, like the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like I've earned every icon on that map. I feel it's different. Like I just feel like it wanted me to explore it, and I wasn't ever. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm on a tangent here, but
no,
like
I
you
know
guys
exactly what you're
understand
saying.
what I'm saying with this.
With the Ubisoft game, I have to take Dave's term that he uses all the time. He should coin it. It's icon vomit.
I don't think it's my term, but it's
such a good term to describe exactly what Brandon's talking about, because you just get this smattering of icons on your map, and it's almost like paralysis because you don't know which icon to go to next. Like there's your main mission marker. Oh, there's a side mission where you can fucking, like Far Cry 5, wrangle some pigs and just do a little side activity, or like shoot these do an outpost. It's all Far Cry is all about doing outposts.
Constant hand holding,
and it's like content overload. There's just too much going on. You don't know which direction to go, and I think that's where the icons on the map hurt you, because I feel like you just pick the closest icon, go there. You're not really exploring. You're following you're following a marker on a map from point to point, and it doesn't feel like you're learning the world or learning the space. You're just going from.
You're just
from
going
point
in a
to point.
straight line,
Exactly.
like straight line right there. And the map that you have up now for Zelda is super nice, because you can kind of see, like, based off of like the shrines that you found, you can see what holes you have in your map and places that you need to go to, like,
which
to go
Skyrim
explore.
does have that same, yes.
But also at the same time, like, you can add your own pins to the map. So if you see something in the distance, you can mark it with
which
something
I use.
and know that you have to come back. I
use it all the time, because it's like, especially if it's like
how do I get to that?
That, like if I know it's a boss that I can't beat right now that I want to come back to, I'll pin
Oh,
it.
okay.
Like those, I forgot what they're called.
Yeah.
The three-headed flying dragons in Tears of the Kingdom. Like I know if
Gorgon,
I
Yeah.
or
yeah,
Visuals?
I know if I
yeah,
forgot
something
the
like
exact
that,
name for
whatever.
them, but I know if I come back to them at a later point when I'm stronger, I'll get a cool reward. Or like I know there's something in this town that I want to go to. Like somebody in a different town says, "Hey, go talk to this person in this town." So I might not have a specific quest marker for that, but I'll put a little pin on the town that I want to
Okay.
go back to later. So I think that pin system is like so innovative and unique and something we haven't really seen in maps until Breath of the Wild.
They're called Gleeoks. by the way.
Gleeoks, that's the one.
Oh.
Yes.
But Zelda is nice because you have the binoculars and you can see stuff that's way off in the distance and just mark it. And then, you may not have time to run all the way over there. So, you
Exactly.
mark it and you just
Especially in
get to
Tears
it
of the
when I get to
Kingdom.
it.
Because in Tears of the Kingdom, you're much more vertical, airborne. So, like, you're flying through the air, you're looking out at the horizon. You pull up your binoculars, you pin something in the distance, either whether it's a shrine or when we were going through those fucking hieroglyphs, whatever they're called, the things.
Yeah.
Like I would
That's what
see
I would always mark those. Yeah.
those in the distance, mark it for later. I'm like, okay, I know I gotta head there next. So
There's a great balance in the gameplay, I think, with Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild, I'm sure, but I played way more of Tears of the Kingdom, where the way I'm using the map, I feel like that's how you would use the map. I'm pulling it up, and I'm not doing it out of frustration.
no,
I'm just doing it like, okay, where can I go next? Where haven't I been? Like you said, Dave, like I can look at this map and say, I haven't really explored that area. Let's go there. There's gonna be tons of shit. There's bound to be a shrine there or something, So that's
Skyrim
good.
does that really well too.
Skyrim does that very well. Yeah.
You don't have
Yes.
like all the map marking, but you do see like the empty holes in your map. And that kind of Skyrim has, oh my god, look at all those icons. That
Right,
makes me
that's
kind of want to vomit a
icon
little bit.
vomit right now
yes.
because everything's been discovered. I think that's like an achievement, but it
I
doesn't
have
start off like that. Ubisoft starts like this.
I love Skyrim. Probably I regard it as one of my favorite games of all time. I don't like the map. I don't think
really?
I don't think it's a good map
The
functionally.
overworld is decent,
Uh,
but
yeah, like
you get into the location maps, and those are horrible.
those two.
Fallout has the same
They're-
problem.
They
Yeah.
don't show you. Yeah, this is something I wanted to bring up as well. There's the idea of an area map where it gives you a lay of the land of a specific area you're in, but it doesn't show you exactly where you are in that area. I don't know.
Mm,
How do you guys
I've
feel
encountered
about
that
that?
before.
Like, would you
Probably
rather
just
have it
depends on the game.
right? Like, I guess a game like Skyrim, would you rather have it show you your exact point location on the map or just a general layout of the area that you're in? I feel like with
Gives you a little
Skyrim, you explore the
arrow, I
same
thought.
areas so much that you get to know the area. And I barely ever use those like area maps in Skyrim. I only use the overworld map. But
Yeah, same.
the overworld map again is nice to look at. It's cool that it's an actual in-game rendering of the entire world, but I don't think it's all
Right.
that useful in navigating. It's more just I would pull it up when I need to fast travel or go somewhere. I never used it to like,
Yeah, I'm
I need
totally
to get
with
to
you.
this point, So
But that was older, and like that, I think inspired a lot of the games after it. And I think Tears of the Kingdom, I think, was inspired by Skyrim just in general, and then they just like totally evolved the whole exploration. But I just think that there's a beautiful balance with it. Another thing, a late breaking thing that I was thinking of right before we did this episode, that's very similar to this actually, is battle royale maps. So if you played PUBG or Call of Duty or Fortnite and you're out there with your squad or whatever, you got to communicate where you're going to go, where you're going to land. And I know, Eric, out of all your 50 tabs open, you don't have probably one battle royale game, but
I don't.
But that is
I was gonna pull up a
the
Fortnite
use of
map.
a map in those games is extremely, because you need to know where the circle is, and you're always in those maps. So
Right.
I think a lot of Call of Duty fans and Fortnite and PUBG fans are very intimate with those maps and those in-game maps that they pop up.
You're running around
Crucial.
those maps so quickly and so
Oh, yeah.
often
The
that
water
you start
tower.
to you start to know those specific landmarks.
Yeah.
Like,
Junkyard. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
the area and you mark what part of it. You're not marking like the general area, like the entrance, the back way, whatever. Yeah, so, but I was just thinking about, man, like part of the fun of those battle royale games is busting out the map and making your call, like where are you gonna go, and the use of the big circle closing in on you. Just you need to look at the map for it. So it's just a great relationship of you playing and shooting people, but then pulling it out and looking at it and making these smart decisions. And I think that's one of the unsaid things about why battle royale is so popular. Is because of this beautiful relationship we have with our game map.
Like even in those Apex Legends added in the ping system, which lets
Oh
you
yeah,
share what location you want to go to without even having to pull up the map. You just ping, you just point and ping, and people can run exactly there, which is, I don't know, in those battle royale games, like things happen so fast and furious that
fast paced.
sometimes
You don't want to be
have
fumbling
time
with a
to
map
pull up on the
screen.
map.
Well, no, that's more for big strategy. You're talking more about like where are they shooting from over here? Where'd that guy go? In there.
Right. It's more in the midst of
where should we
battle.
hide or go to? Over here. Hey, there's a gun over. Like those are for like very actionable things, but like when you're looking at like what are we doing chess wise?
Where
Like,
are we jumping
what
out?
are our moves? Like 3 moves from now, where are we going?
Fortnite actually added a ping system, which again, I mean, Apex was
Did
the pioneer of that for sure. But it's interesting how they inspire each other.
Yeah. Well, they all inspire each other, I think.
The environments and the maps kind of lend. I think most of the time when you're doing like game design, you're probably coming up with the map first and figuring out the lay of the land, and then you kind of build the environments around the map. A lot of those, it's kind of a give and take between, do you want to recognize like landmarks from, just walking around in first person, or do you need to pull up the map and actually do it? It's an interesting back and forth with that. I've been playing Spider-Man lately, and I actually just finished Spider-Man, and that one, it gets into the Ubisoft problem. That one, like over the course of the game, you end up, it's not map vomit or icon vomit at first, but when you get towards the end of the game, it is absolutely icon vomit, which is kind of weird. But
there's always filters though. You can adjust that though. I mean, like, that's, I think it's just like a level of accomplishment. I just want to know at that point you're not, like Eric said this before, you get to know these maps or these worlds after a while. If you've logged in 60 hours and you have nothing but icons, that's not the same thing as like somebody first starting the game though.
That's true. In the beginning, you don't have many, but as you go to,
and that's why
levels,
Ubisoft is
unlock.
Yeah, but I think that's why people pick on Ubisoft, because it's always like they all kind of do it, but Ubisoft's really bad at doing the way they do it.
Let's pull up the bad one Eric had earlier. What was it, Horizon?
Oh my gosh, Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the worst map.
But they did everything else so well in that game. But yeah,
like
it's the colors and the scale of the icons are just so big.
This map that we're looking at right now, like it's so hard to parse what the icons actually mean, and a lot of them are just telling you. Right, exactly. I don't even know where the player icon is. A lot of them are just telling you which like machines are in the area, and a lot of them are like the campfires, which are your fast travel points. But like, it's so hard to parse what is going on, and I think that's where you can get into a lot of trouble. Like, I know that in this game, it does lend itself to the game a bit because there might be a specific machine dinosaur that you're looking for where you need a specific part to craft a specific piece of gear or whatever, and you want to know where that machine is. But I feel like it would be, I mean, there, and you can see at the bottom if you're watching the video version, there is an option to filter these icons. But like, if this is the default state of the map, it's just it's very hard to look at.
Yeah, you can't hit people right away because you have to, because it's also helping with the storytelling, or at least here's what we expect you to do with this game that you probably just bought, right? Like, okay, I bought a game, you got this cool world, I can't wait to explore it. How are you going to kind of tease stuff, but also show me some of the key things I need to know or whatever,
It's so tough with an open world game too, because there's so many different activities that you can do. Obviously, the game developers want you to know that, hey, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. There's all these different activities. They want you to see the entire game. So I feel like they rely sometimes on just throwing all these icons at your map. Like, hey, you can
Yeah.
do, these icons mean you can do this over here. But I feel like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom perfected that open world exploration formula for
Though,
an open world game, and discovering these side activities
yes.
that you can do like organically as
Yeah.
you're exploring the world. So I think a map should be used as a tool for exploration. It shouldn't be used just purely going from point to point, and
And
that's a lot of what these open world games are these days.
some games I think have, I don't want to say they have bad maps on purpose, but they have specifically kind of convoluted maps. I was playing Control recently. I don't know if you have that one, Eric, but
Yes.
that one,
That game frustrates
it's
me.
got layers on top of
Yes.
layers, which what did they call it? It's like the something
It's the
house. I
oldest
forget what it,
house.
the oldest house. It's supposed to be some kind of weird like
It makes
labyrinthian
sense
kind of
because the
environment.
environment is always shifting.
Hmm.
So
Right.
one room might not be where it was before. So
Yeah, which and
it
it's Bethesda has that thing where they have like layers on top of layers. They don't. It's not a 3D map, but you may be going down and
mhm.
underneath the same place that you were
Tricky to
before,
do.
but you can't
Yeah.
tell from a top-down perspective,
Well, Resident
which I think
Evil,
help.
there are a few games that do that
Resident Evil
well.
does that. Resident Evil does that really well. Those are great, but I think there is. I don't want to say shitty on purpose, but some games want you to learn more about your environment and actually learn your environment rather than rely on the map.
Exactly.
I think
And
I agree with that.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did with Control, taking your example. I feel like I barely ever use the actual map screen in Control. Like the
Hmm.
oldest house is such a unique environment, and every area in that environment is unique, so it was really easy to navigate where to go, and the in-game like directions. So it's like, it's a a fucking government building. So they have all these signs directing you where to go.
Yes,
So like, oh, I
That's
need to go to
true.
the
But
cafeteria.
the
So
in-world helps.
I look at the signs that are pointing me towards the cafeteria. So
the fast travel system they had in that too is like you go to like a certain point wherever
mhm,
they had that technology where they're set up and there was like a big circle, and if you get in there it's like, or just kind of scroll up and down, where you want to go, like you're going on an elevator or something like that. So you didn't need to use the map. So Dave, that's a really
right.
good point. It's doing a lot of things so you don't have to do that. And yeah, Eric, I love that point where
It's
like just use the signs.
Yeah.
Just use the signs on the wall. If you want
yeah,
to go to like research lab, just follow the signs. I think there's a few of those games. BioShock did that.
yeah.
Alien Isolation did that.
Dead
There's ways
Space is
around
really
the
good.
map too, for sure. The relationship with the map, rather. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I do want to bring
Oh,
up.
and then I also think it. Oh, no, hold on, real quick,
Okay,
before I forget this little thought here, but just Tears of the Kingdom, it has to show three maps:
that's
the
true.
sky map, the regular land map, and the depths. And the way you do it,
It's
you
fucking
just push up,
depths.
down. It's just go up and down between them, and then just like knowing that the what do they call the roots in the
The light roots. Yeah.
depths. Yeah, are roughly underneath the shrine
Yep.
somewhere on the land or in the sky. And
It's
I
so
just
smart.
found in the water with the rocks. And there's another one I discovered I won't ruin, but I was just like, man, that is so cool. Just seeing the relationship of how the underworld and the top world are, and it's just a great experience. So again, I
Well,
just cannot praise that game enough.
where you hit water in the regular world, in the underworld, they're usually just walls where
It's
you
an
can't get
Right.
impassable wall. Yeah.
past,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah.
cool because you can look at the overworld map to kind of help you with the underworld map, and they kind of play off of each other in a very smart way there.
Right, because if you see an island
Hmm.
in Tears of the Kingdom on the regular land, and you're like, okay, if there's an island, that water is a perfect circle basically around, in the underground. So how do we get in there? So that means on the island there's probably some opening that you have to
Right.
go through.
Exactly.
So you got to figure that out through like the exploring the map, and yeah, super
So
cool.
smart. So well designed.
So
One of my favorites that I do want to bring up, I mentioned it a little bit, was the new Resident Evil
yes,
maps. And this is specifically the
the
RE2 map.
remakes.
Yeah, the remakes. They've stuck with this map
Oh, okay.
style. It's simple, it's clean, but what I love about it, simple and clean. What I love about it is the coloring system in the map.
Okay.
It's again, it's simple. If the room is red, you know there's something in that room that you haven't found yet. So, and if the room is blue,
Oh.
you've completely explored that room. There's nothing else in there to find. So like if you're missing a key item or
Oh.
something that you haven't found yet, just look for a red room and like, okay, I know there's something in there that I missed
I
that I
love
need to go
that.
back to. And it's, you know, it's like I said, it's super simple. It shows you exactly where you are. It shows you what doors are locked. Like the red doors are locked. You can't get into those yet. The blue ones you can.
Yeah, that's a classic one
A
I've
lot
seen
of
before.
them,
But the red
they
room
put
is that's so clever.
Yeah.
they'll put icons for what key you need on the door.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like a clover key or something like
Okay.
that. Especially, it's specific for this genre too. Like you can't put this map with, you know, a Castlevania game or something like that.
Right.
But because the survival horror kind of aspect of this is you're limited ammo, you're running around this closed environment, and you have to, you know, solve the puzzle within the environment. So
That's the only time I really
the
use
design at this. No,
I
sorry.
didn't
The
mean to
design
cut
for
you
this
off.
and the gameplay kind of link together so nicely. That's all I want to
Yes.
get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I forgot what my point was going to be, but I just wanted to say that that this map is so well designed, and with the Resident Evil games, like you were saying, there are multiple floors. So you can see in the example we're showing now, all the colored rooms are the floors on are the rooms on the current floor, but all like the grayed out rooms are ones on the floor beneath it. And you can change floors as well. It makes it easy to change floors, so you know exactly which floor you're looking at when you're looking at this screen. But very well designed.
This Eric, this is a great pick because there's indie games that do this that I really like. Enter the Gungeon comes to mind, but specifically I had Neon Abyss, which I really like.
Yes,
It's a
setup.
2D. Yeah, it's just a 2D shooter. It's a great game, little platformer, but the it's so simple, but it just each screen, kind of like a Castlevania thing, I guess. I don't know how do you explain this, but like each screen that you play in, when you leave it and you go to another screen, that's like a cell, I'll call it, and that's what just a bunch of cells make up the level. But you know where the final boss is, so you can go there whenever you're ready. But there's like the bonuses and the other things you can find and resources and shops and stuff like that. But it's a great way of getting in and getting out, and it's very useful. But yeah, just your example just made me think of those two indie games.
there are types of maps that I wanted to hit up on because it seems like video games in general fall into one of these. I made like 5 categories. There may be something that I'm not thinking of. They have kind of like the in-world maps, the diegetic ones that Eric was talking about, that are, you pull up, your hands are in front of your face, you're showing the map.
Yeah.
There are 3D maps. You have Jedi Survivor up here.
Yes.
And they do the same thing that Resident Evil does, where certain doors are a certain color, and if you can get into an area, the door will change colors and stuff like that. But they have a
vastly
nice
improved
3D map.
They vastly improved the map over Fallen
Oh,
Order in
really?
Jedi
Good.
Survivor.
Yeah.
Yes. So
It's really
yeah.
good.
Yeah. So I mean,
And this is in world too, because BB was it BB-8 or no? What was the
BD1
droid is? BD-1. Thank you. BB-8.
Yeah, BD1 shoots it out. He projects
right.
it like
This
a
is
droid
technically
would.
diegetic.
It's very
Yes.
It's like a hologram.
That's nice.
Which, I mean, it fits in the world and it doesn't take you out of things. Like, it's something that you could see that person actually using.
But yeah, the coloring on this one, there's a lot more contrast in Jedi Survivor, and it shows you the path of where you've been, which I think is a very underrated map feature that a lot of maps should have. Like, it shows a line of, like, it doesn't, it's only a certain amount back. And, like, you can see in this image, like, the brighter the yellow line is, the more recent you've been there. So I think that's a really cool feature.
See, dude, these little things, I love that. That is so good.
Design, the design on these things is crazy. But those 3D maps, I think, are like.
There's another one I found, Dave.
Well, what's that?
Of these 3D maps, I'm working through the Hogwarts Legacy, and that's so cool because like the whole draw of that game is exploring the area, and I'm not even a Potter fan, and I'm like, this is fucking dope. But the map is not the greatest, but it's still fun to pull out that map and see it, load and
fully
know that
different
I can zoom
areas
in.
of the castle that you can go to.
It's just right now, the game is very encouraging you to explore and talk to all the different professors or whatever, and do these different things. But also pulling up the map and like shooting around a little bit, I gain like my fast travel points and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm having a good time with that game, and the map is. I was thinking about the
So
map this time. Like,
wait till you get the broom in that one, and you can just start
oh, I can't
zipping on
wait.
a fucking broom everywhere. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is this one? Is this
This
is
is
this
the
it?
overworld map on Hogwarts. So
Oh,
they
I
have
haven't gotten that far yet.
they have
Oh,
two
wow.
versions of the
Huge.
map. Yeah, the map's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. But they have the overworld map with the different sections. You know, you got Hogsmeade and Hogwarts
Okay.
and like southern, you know, the
Yeah.
other areas on the island. But and then there's the actual location maps where you zoom in and like you were saying, you get the 3D version of Hogwarts, and
Oh,
Hogsmeade
okay. That's as
has,
far as I've gotten. So
I think
cool.
Hogsmeade has a more traditional map. So like each area has a different map too, which is cool.
No way. Okay.
It definitely
Well, that's
lends
great.
itself to help you explore. But no, running down the types of maps. There are, your standard 2D top down. I think that's kind of like the default. Like, we don't know what to fucking do with a map. Let's just
Like
make
a
a 2D top down.
Mario?
Do you have
Like a
a
Super Mario
an
Brothers?
Elden
Or...
Ring? Do you have that one?
Oh,
Yeah.
That is an
okay.
extremely good top
That's a
down map
beautiful map.
because it all looks hand drawn, and
It does.
it all kind of lends itself to,
It fits with
like, you can see where the world
the
goes.
fantasy theme of the game too.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
And those are, I mean, you don't get icon overload. You just get your fast travel points, and it kind of points you in the right direction to go. But
Yep.
the 2D map in Elden Ring, like GTA, like everyone's got it.
Grand,
Like GTA,
Grand,
Rockstar,
yeah. The Red Dead
right here.
Redemption 2 is really good. What I like about this one is is this Grand Theft Auto 5?
This is 5, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this one. I
Not my
always
favorite.
like, it's got good things and bad things. Like, I like how they do the the visual of the city, but it's over the gameplay, and it's like right now I'm like, I have a heart, and then all the stuff on the right, that legend,
There's so
just
much stuff.
clunky.
So
But they've always been clunky in general with their games. As good as they are, they're kind of clunky with things.
I think this is a good segue. I want to come back to the rest of the map types, Dave, but
Yeah.
a quick sidebar. GTA, I think this is a bad use of it, but it's interesting that GTA 5 went with a fog of war type map, which basically means
Which I like, though.
it reveals the map as you explore the world.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that GTA 5 did that, but in general, I like that. Some
Yeah.
other examples are
I was gonna say Red Dead Redemption 2 totally does that.
yeah, and I was thinking like Shadow of Mordor.
Shadow
which I brought
Mordor,
up here.
Yeah, those are great games.
And even
Challenge.
like the new the God of War 2018 game does that as well. So you
Oh,
know
I
which
forgot about this map. Yeah.
you know which areas you haven't explored yet. So
Right.
that I'm a fan of the Fog of War if it's used correctly.
Same.
I don't think it's used correctly in GTA, and it makes sense for like Metroidvania games as well, because you know exactly where you have to go next is just the area you haven't explored next.
I like when you get to an area and you look at the map and it shows you can go this way and this way, but it doesn't show you like much farther. And I'm like,
Right.
Is it? Oh, Diablo does this too. Or I'm like, is this gonna take me somewhere, or is it a dead end? You know?
Mhm.
And there's only one way to find out. Go. And
The
I
thing
think that's great.
I struggle with on these compared to like the Resident Evil maps that tell you like what doors are locked. Like, if I wanted to get into an area that is covered by the Fog of War, I don't know if I have unlocked the thing that I need to get into that area. So I may try and walk over to that area only to discover like, oh, I don't have the key of blah 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 to get in there. Which
Right.
I brought up I think Metroidvania games are much better at this. I brought up Metroid Dread specifically.
This is the next one.
Yeah. So like with
it is massive.
with Metroid games, especially Dread, I think the map can be a little bit overwhelming just looking at it, but they do tell you if a door's locked, they tell you exactly the tool that you need to get in there. Like, well, even if you haven't unlocked the, item, or not the item, the weapon yet to get through the door, it won't tell you the specific item, but it'll say like, oh, you can't access this door yet. Which I love because I know like, okay, I need to come back to this later, so I'm going to go a different direction. And then once I do get that item that I need to open the door, the map updates like, oh, you have this item now? Hey, you can open this door. And I love that.
That is, yes, extremely helpful. And that was the next category, was essentially the 2D side scrolling games like Ori, Castlevania, Metroid. Like all those ones have a specific kind of
Love
look and
Ori's
feel to
map.
them where you're just seeing, yeah, Ori's awesome. I love these maps.
Yeah, they are good.
It's literally just like a bisection of, the areas that you're exploring, because you're only seeing it from the certain angle. So it's kind of, it's got its own kind of look and feel to it. Castlevanias do this. I think it was, what was the first one that did it? I don't want to say specifically, but those ones kind of have their own thing to it. They all have their own kind of, they all do the same thing essentially.
Yeah.
As this. And then the last one, which I kind of wanted to give a shout out to, is games that come with physical maps.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking props on you for putting something in.
That's an old PC RPG games. Would do that.
Yes,
My brother would get them, and I'd be like, "What is that?" This is Ultima 4 or 5, whatever.
And
I'm like, that is so cool. Can I just look at it? And I was like,
it might have
"Man,
been that DD article that he was talking about. Morrowind, I believe, where
Yeah,
there are no map markers in the game. They just say like,
right.
walk north, walk between these two trees, walk over to this pond, and then go south
Yeah,
or something like that. Like there's
pretty
the
dope.
map
That's
that you are
cool.
very reliant on.
Dude, I literally have
like
a Skyrim map framed in my office right here on the wall.
That is
So
awesome.
nice.
Like I think The Witcher, they do it in a lot of the special editions. The Witcher did it,
Yep.
GTA did it. Like when I was a kid, there was a PC game called Starflight where it's essentially like No Man's Sky except in the 80s. I would say that No Man's Sky ripped off of Starflight.
I've never heard of Starflight before.
But it's a literally a map that you have to unfold, and it's a map of the galaxy, and you have to like punch in coordinates from the map to like figure out where you're going to go. And you can,
That's sweet.
we always drew on it when we figured out
Intense.
like wormholes and jump points and stuff like that. Like physical maps in games, I think, are very underrated in general.
I think that is a great one to end on the types, because it brings us back into, I was looking at maps just in general with humans, and it's just, it's up there with like taking the hand and putting it on a wall and throwing some like dust on it and like putting in imprints like I was once here. But I also think like maps are really good at showing where we have been though while we're here. This urge to explore the world. We've literally explored our entire planet. Now we're exploring Mars and the moon. Like we just can't stop exploring stuff, and I just think that is so cool. So that was a great example, Dave.
I haven't seen this map in so long.
Is this the Starflight map?
That is the Starflight map. Like, and all those dots are solar systems. Like in No Man's Sky or Starfield, you go to that solar system, there may be 4 planets in there, there might be 5, and
damn,
scattered throughout here are all sorts of different wormholes where you can jump from like point to point and stuff like that. And back in the 80s, like you could not play the game without this pack-in map that came with the game. It's insane.
But that was the thing back then. There were like games where you had to have the menus, like tell me the code, and you're like on page 15.
Games were so simple they couldn't put that shit in the game. They needed to give you a physical thing to look at.
This game, it came with
Indiana Jones, that infamous horrible shitty Atari game. You needed the book,
or you couldn't. You literally couldn't play the game. Yeah, you had no idea what the fuck was going on. Yeah,
this one, I think they had a code wheel, which was like, a wheel with a bunch of numbers over it, and you had another wheel on top of it that you turned to like see certain numbers, and like to dock at any station. And this was kind of how they did their I want to say, to prevent piracy, is because you needed this code wheel to dock at any station. This is kind of off topic, but whatever. But
no, it's fine. It's all about the experience.
Like that pack-in that came with the game was their piracy protection, where like in order to walk, to land on this planet or to dock with the station, you had to turn the code wheel and figure out, punch in like a 4-digit code to like, it's insane. But like those physical things that come with the games is where I was kind of getting to.
I feel like that's something lost, I think that is a very cool thing. I know we're so digital nowadays, and what digital has its strengths, but man, like you lose the ability to do stuff like that.
Let's talk about this.
I had to bring up the Pip-Boy.
Eric pulled up the Pip-Boy. Ooh, I had this written down as good games with bad maps. I don't know what to call this.
I like the Pip-Boy interface. I like, again, that it's
idea of it.
diegetic and it's, you
Yeah.
know, in game, and you have on the physical Pip-Boy, it's a map screen, but it's not the most useful map
No,
ever.
because you're kind of only using like a small portion of the screen to show it, and it's not in the best. It's not very. It's helpful to see like the general area of where you're going, but it falls into the same Bethesda like local map area where they've got layers stacked on top of each other, and just the local maps are just horrible. But you know, the UI of being diegetic and you're wearing your map on your fucking wrist or
Yeah.
whatever. I've got a Pip-Boy up there on the wall.
I remember using the
It's tough.
because when Fallout 4 came out, they made Bethesda made an app on your phone for the map that you could actually like the Pip-Boy. They sold the Pip-Boy with like just a case, and you put your phone in the Pip-Boy, and you can use
that's
the
right.
map
Dave
app
brought it to work that one
Yes.
time. I remembered. There
Yeah.
it is.
This beastie right here. You slide your
Dude,
phone in
You
here.
slide your phone in, yes.
and you could put
You
it
should
on
just
your
wear
wrist.
that around.
While
go to the
you're
store with
while
that
you're
on.
playing Fallout 4, you can just have your fucking map
You just
screen
got your
on
map
your wrist.
on your
Oh
wrist,
my God.
and you can just. But it only fits
So
like
cool.
iPhone 4 and lower. Like,
Right.
I don't think they had like the big phones in plan. But
At the
Oh,
time
you
it
could
came out,
literally-
I thought that
you could
was the
literally play
coolest
the
thing.
game and have your phone right here and just like look at the map on your wrist while you're playing with your game on your. It's
I
kind of a
bet your
crazy
wife
thing
walked
to.
by and is like, wow, my husband is so cool.
Oh, I am gonna do him so hard tonight. Oh my god, that is so hot.
Keep it
That
on.
is so
Take
hot.
everything else off.
Keep it on.
Keep it on.
I want to feel that Pip-Boy bump against me. While we're
Oh,
my
no.
God. Put on the Master Chief helmet. Oh my God.
That's so good. That's a good call though, Eric. The Fallout one, it's a weird.
But hey, you know what? They're playing
kinda
with
back
it. It's
themselves-
fun.
Yeah.
They back themselves into
creative.
a corner with using it. They've been using it since 3, 4. They use it in 76. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a great UI, but because and this is more of a UI thing, but you're limited to, you know, the things across the top and a tiny little portion of
Yeah.
the screen that you're using to, you know, to do a lot of your inventory management and your map management and all that stuff. Like,
It's just the
You're role playing, man.
blame it on
It's
right. Blame it on the
apocalypse, you know, that's
shitty
true.
blame it
Limited
on the shitty
technology.
tech blame it on the shitty technology of the world at the time. It's
Wearing this
limited
wrist.
by the in-game technology.
but it's a whole thing. I'm glad you guys brought this up because now I get to finally use this for something other than
Okay.
just sitting on my wall.
So I know one of my favorites though is the Red Dead 2 map because it does a really smart thing. When you're far away, the type, like at first it looks like it's hand drawn and all that stuff. It shows you where you can go. Like if you go here, you're gonna have a bounty on you, and it has some icons, but they're not bad. But the thing that I think is genius is there's the small details, and when you zoom in on it, you'll see they'll start showing up town names, like monuments and stuff like that, very small things. But as you zoom out, it'll show you like the town or the region, and then further until like it's just the region. And I just think that is really smart because like, yeah, you don't need to see every friggin' detail. Where like if I turn on Ubisoft, I was playing Far Cry Primal. I was like, I forget what they did. Good looking map, covered with icons. It's showing me all the
Yep.
animals that live in all the different areas, just like Horizon Zero Dawn with the different robot dinosaur type things. It's just like,
Yep.
I don't think I mean, I might need to know that, but right now, I don't think I need to know that. And it's just take it off so I can see your beautiful map. But just the way they handled this, I think, looking at Grand Theft Auto, I think is it's cool, but like it's not cool. I think this is a great.
They
map.
have to be thematically and stylistically appropriate for the game. So this game taking place in the Old West, like this looks like an Old West map. You have
Yeah.
Dead Rising, Eric.
Yes.
Oh,
Dead
God,
Rising
yeah.
is a fantastic map because
Ooh,
it
no,
takes
not that one.
most of them take place in the mall.
Another
Ooh,
Dead
Dead
game.
Space is really good too.
I did want to talk about
But-
that
Yeah.
one.
But Dead Rising in general takes place in the mall, so you have a map that looks like it's like a mall map.
It looks like
which
something
is
you would
kinda
see
fun.
in the mall map. Yeah.
And they get better as you go through, where 2 and 3 and all those, like, the timers in those games are whatever, but the fact that it looks like something that you would see at a mall, like thematically fitting in with the game is a big important thing, and you don't want to be hindered by it, but also you want to use it to your advantage when you're displaying, map locations in your game.
Dave, idea. Malls
Yeah.
were awesome in like 1989,
They're still
1990,
awesome.
right? But I mean,
Yeah.
that was like peak, right? It was like, what are you doing? Going to
Go
the
to the
mall.
mall, hanging out
You
at the
know,
mall.
Mm-hmm.
going to the mall and hanging out, right? Like maybe like there's another year, but it was like the late 90s, or I'm sorry, late 80s kind of shit. They should reboot Dead Rising and stop doing it in modern malls. Do a timepiece.
In the
Can they do it
80s?
in the 80s at peak?
Sure.
I want to see like, yeah, I want to see mom jeans. I want to see people on like
Hella JC
fucking,
Penney's and
yeah, I want to see those old, yeah,
I only played the first Dead Rising.
mullet.
Do they all take place in a mall?
Uh,
In or
I mean,
around a mall?
the last one, I don't think 3 did. 3 was more of a city, and I think you could go to the mall. 4 was
Oh,
a mall, but they had the bigger city as well, so you could go to the mall, but you could also go to the town
Okay.
outside of it, Willamette. 4 had a really good mall and map to go with it as well.
But yeah,
So there's different sections because the malls that they put in there are pretty badass. Like it's like a fucking super mall.
I remember the
Yeah.
first. I remember being amazed by the first game. Like just the fact that you could basically pick up anything and use it as a weapon. Like that just
so
blew
many
my mind.
zombies on screen.
It's
Yeah.
so fun.
I played
so
the first
fun.
one a couple years ago, and even the
Shit
first one is
controls,
still
but-
fun. Yeah.
Good game. Yeah.
It's that time of year, and I will give a shout out to Dead Rising 4 is one of the most underrated holiday Christmas games out there because it has a
Okay.
Interesting.
it has a
Okay.
banging Christmas soundtrack to it, and it takes place in that it's like Black Friday Christmas time at a
Yeah.
mall. Which
Sounds like you
is
have to
cool.
do a
hilarious.
stream, Dave. So around the holidays, that'd be fun to
Stream it
watch.
up.
Dead Rising 4. Yeah, it makes me want to check that out because yeah, Dead Rising is the perfect example of a game with a it's a big-ish mall, but it's small enough where you can learn every corridor of the mall as you're exploring it. Like you don't at a
Yeah.
certain point
Yeah.
you don't need the map anymore. You know the exact layout. Oh, I need to go to the
If
food
I'm in the
court.
food
I know
court.
where that is. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Awesome.
That's funny.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
relatable one.
man.
We've all gone to the mall and you're like, oh, where do I go? Where's JC Penney's?
Most of the time, it's where's the bathroom in
That
this
is
fucking
true.
place.
It's really. It's always like, where's the food court for me?
Food court or
Um,
bathrooms usually by the food court too. So that's the twofer there.
Let's just be. I wanted to make sure I shouted this out too, but let's just all be thankful of the maps that we have now because as a child in the 80s, I would play Bard's Tale, and that game had no
Oh,
map.
boy.
And
Wow.
some of the dungeons you would go through would be
Get
kind
lost.
of like crazy labyrinths. And I remember having graph paper and having to like draw out the map on graph paper in real world because they didn't give you anything in the game to kind of figure it out. It's either you memorize this dungeon or you have to basically make your own map on
Okay.
graph paper is the easiest way to go back then. But
But
since then-
times have changed.
yeah,
But
since then they've some of the remakes they've actually added maps into the Bard's Tale games, which is really nice.
Oh,
So-
okay.
I should have
Which
brought
makes
this
them
up.
way easier to play with. But
I should have brought this up earlier, but a map that I really appreciate is Tunic. Because
So, Eric, I was gonna bring
Yes.
up like this game
because it's very reminiscent of what we were talking about earlier, where you need the instruction manual to play the game, and it's such a smart
Yes.
idea. Of throughout this game, you're collecting the
Knew
pages
what it
of
was.
the instruction manual,
Yeah.
and you get pages of the like. There's no in-game world map. The map you collect the
No,
page for the
right.
map when you get to the area, and then you have the map for the area. And it's so cool because you do have to use it like an instruction booklet. You don't know where you are on the map, but you have to look at the landmarks and figure out where to go. It's just such a cool. I loved
And
Tunic.
And like
so great.
it did a lot of those things that those menus would do where they would use that extra space on those pages to put other content. So they would put like enemy types. Hey, if you see this enemy, they
And-
don't like fire, or like this.
There's
If
like
you see this thing, you
handwritten
can use it
notes
to do
in
that.
there too, like someone was
Yeah.
scribbling in it. Oh, that's so cool.
It just captured that 90s gaming on consoles, like that Super Nintendo. Yes, through and through. Great
Stylistically,
example.
it matches up perfectly with that. I remember, what was it? Star Tropics. Thank you for the NES. Specifically had a page in it where you had to like dip the page in water to like get the code to like do something in the game.
Oh, I
There's
didn't know
something
I heard
very
about
very specific about that, but like game manuals, something that we don't get anymore. But Tunic is a super good callback to like those times where you needed the game manual, like something packed in with the game in order
Makers
to
of this
actually get
game
the game.
understood that, because there are secrets.
Yes.
There are secrets in this manual that you need to figure out to progress in the game. Like, and there's
it's
certain like some hidden things that you need to go searching for. Like, I won't spoil anything, but it's
Yeah, you
it's
finished this
awesome.
game, right?
I did, yeah.
It is so smart though, because those things are in the game from the very beginning.
Yep,
And
exactly.
and you could do them at any point, but until you get the book to like actually
Yes.
explain it to you, sometimes
So
you
smart.
don't understand on how those things work. And
Very
it's
clever.
fantastic.
Yeah, like one example, like
Shout out to Tunic.
there's like a thing you need to activate by holding down A, but you see these things all over the place. You don't know how to activate them. So like Dave said, before you got the actual manual piece that tells you how to do that, you could have done it if you just tried a bunch of different things. But just so smart, so smart. Very cool.
Oh, hey, before it's not a long one, but when we did our VR games episode, one of the games we all played together was the mini golf, the VR mini golf.
Yes.
And it's yeah, so Eric's pulled up the visual here, and obviously this is something that it's way better when you're in VR, but it's so cool. So imagine you're wearing this VR headset. You're in the game, you're playing putt-putt. I can see Eric, he's standing next to me. He feels like he's the same height as me. This is great. I feel like we're really at a putt-putt course. But if you want to pull up the map and look at all of the holes of the course, it pulls up the map, but it's in front of you, and you're like a giant to it. It looks like a toy. I don't know how to explain this.
It's so cool
It's
because
like a little mini
it's
model.
so cool because it's really there.
It's really there because if
see
I
us.
pulled up my map screen, I could see Brandon waving at me from like tiny little Brandon waving at me from down on the course.
Yeah. It's like it took your point of view and just pulled you out of your body and just threw you out like in the sky or something like that. And you're just like a god looking into the map that we're on. And it is, I don't know. The first time I did, I'm like, whoa, did not expect this. And it's cool. It's like one of the coolest experiences I've had in VR.
I guess these both go hand in hand, but a couple, like the best experience in VR for me is either when you're a giant looking down on something tiny, like this instance, or where you're small and there's something huge in front of you.
Right.
Like those are the two key experiences in VR. Like just the sense of scale in VR is so cool.
Right. That's a really good point because that is a great feeling. But yeah, you get that in this freaking golf game, and that's
just seeing this map makes me want to go play it again.
It was so fun.
Just the map.
It was so fun.
It is fun. I've been thinking about that, how it's getting cold up where we live, and VR just feels better in the winter for me. I don't know why.
Well, it lets you can't go out and do anything outside, so you got to go in virtual space to do outside activities.
Beat Saber.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think I have any shout outs really. We kind of hit on all of them. But there's some that are more attractive. You just gotta pay attention. Like, it's a nice looking map. It's or maybe it's too useful. Like, you just gotta just take a moment and just think about the gameplay in the map. Is it helping you? Turn off the icons. Is it doing this? Or maybe you shouldn't use it. Or maybe no, you should use it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, like you said there, Brandon, like check your UI settings. Like when you're in a game, like always, like, a lot of times you can turn off mini maps, or you can turn off HUD elements and stuff like that. A lot of that does help in general with your in-game experience.
I'd
say that's different from the map.
Like, turn it off, and then like as you play, I need to know that. Then add it.
I'd say
if you need it, then you add them back on.
Like the Zelda Pro UI is actually really fun to play with for a little while.
Yep.
sometimes you need the mini map here and there, but like the
I gotta
pro
try
UI is
this.
really
I have
nice.
not done. I've logged like 140 hours in this game and have not done.
It gets rid of all the junk on your screen. It just leaves your hearts, I think. That's really about it.
That's it, yeah.
Okay.
Because yeah, I mean, there's like the button prompts that tell you, you know, what different things to do. But if you've played the game that long, you know all the controls, so you don't even need that stuff.
That's a good point. Yeah. Why am I? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to
But
try
it
that.
definitely makes it more immersive, for sure. I'd say don't rely on maps too much, and I feel like it's on the game designers as well to, again, I mentioned this before, but the map should be there as a tool to aid your exploration. You shouldn't have to completely rely on it to, you know, get from point A to point B. So, like Dave said, you know, tweak your settings. If there is an option to turn off the minimap or, you know, whatever, just try it out and see how it feels.
Switch over to compass mode. Turn off that mini map. You don't need that mini map. You end up staring at that little corner of your screen while you're walking around all the time. You just, you know, get in there. And also, developers, just get the map with one button. Like, you know, don't make me do 2 to 3 button presses to get to the map.
Oh,
just
dude,
one button press.
Great
That's all
point.
I want.
When you're hopping in and out of games trying to check out the maps and you're like crushing like 15 games in one night and you're like, I got the Skyrim and I love Skyrim, but man,
2 button presses.
you have to hit 2 buttons to get to the fucking
GTA
map.
5, 2 button presses.
Well, that's the beauty
like,
of
not cool.
That's the beauty of playing on PlayStation. You always know the big touchpad in the middle when you click on it.
Right.
That's going to be the map. Always.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And I like in Hogwarts you can keep your finger there and slide around and like tap some of those things. It's not that good, but it's still cool that the technology is there. You know,
touchpad underutilized on the PlayStation controller.
PS4 controller in general, like, you know, it's I play a lot of games on Xbox, but when I was using the PS4 controller, I'm like, I like it. Those sounds, I like that. Like, the light aims away from me.
Yes.
It's cool. It's a good controller.
Yeah, good control. And like when you're playing GTA and getting chased by the cops, the light bar on the front of it blinks blue and red. Like, you know, the cops are chasing you.
So, cool. That's freaking dope.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, hey, one thing I do want to say before we wrap up is I think it's a testament to our intelligence as people, because when you hop in a video game, right, you're probably gonna know this is probably how you jump. This is what triggers. You're probably gonna shoot something or whatever. Like you're acclimated to a lot of the controls that video games throw at you, right? But you never know what that map is going to be. It's always a wild card. You never know what it's going to be, and they throw some new design philosophies at you, and you need to sort them out. And I just think that it's just impressive that, like, of all the games we've played, and if you play a lot of video games, you've probably experienced hundreds of maps in games. And for your brain to look at that and understand what it's communicating, you're taking a 3D world and somehow putting it together in a 2D representation for somebody to understand and play in and have fun in and enjoy. And maybe they have to come back or whatever, or find like items or something like that. And it's just to open it up and like, oh, okay, I see where I am. It's just interesting, and it's something I noticed when I looked at all these maps. I'm like, man, we really are asking us to like use our brains. And
in general, they fall into one of those like 5 categories. Usually, it's like the 2D top down, the 3D, or you know, there hasn't been. I mean, this VR one is something that is kind of, you know, new. That, you know, is kind of a new design element, I guess, in VR, but it falls into one of those usual categories, and some are done a lot better than others. So,
agreed.
Yeah, I feel like that would be like really cool in a strategy game where like everyone else is playing first-person shooter, but one of us is just up in there, like kind of like, hey, they're attacking on the left. We need like defense, you know, chucker. You know, you have like a commander from a distance, you know, kind of like watching. Battlefront, you can stay up in the sky and see though.
When you're waiting for a respawn,
when you die,
kind of sitting there.
Yeah. Do you guys have any closing comments on video game maps?
I was gonna say, just I prefer immersion in my games. So if it's diegetic, please keep it that way. that is usually the best way to keep you in the world and keep you
Yeah.
like focused on the game, not bringing you out of it. And I'm eating snacks and stuff like that. Like keep me in your game world, please.
Depends on the type of game. I mean,
Yeah.
we've beat it to death, but obviously different map types lend themselves well to different types of games.
Yeah.
First person for sure, I prefer diegetic, but like a Metroidvania, I think
Yeah.
you gotta have that map screen that's telling you, where you
Yeah.
can and can't go. So it all depends on the type of game. But yeah, good map design can sometimes make or break your experience with a
Yeah.
game.
They can be frustrating.
Yeah,
They can be. Yeah.
for sure.
Don't puke
Okay.
icons all over my map either.
Exactly. Icon
Nice.
vomit, no go.
I'm good.
All right. Okay. Well, that was video game apps. If we missed a video game that you liked, let us know in the comments wherever you're
Please.
experiencing our conversation. And if they want to get a hold of us, join our Discord. That's probably the best place, the most active place you'll find us.
The nomadsfantasy.com/discord.
And other than that, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really didn't know where this was gonna go.
Yeah,
definitely fun.
Good
combo.
research, everybody. All right, let's wrap up this conversation and then go into Act 3, where I have a little game. It's just a little game.
little game.
back, Act 3. We're playing a game into, I don't know, staying in theme with the conversation of maps. Which it's really hard to find facts on this stuff, specifically video game maps. So I'm just opening it up to maps in general,
Oh
just
boy.
because I think maps are kind of cool.
Cartography
Yep.
quiz.
Ooh, that's fun.
So I'm just gonna call this what map game? No, it doesn't really have an answer. What map trivia?
I like
But
Are we working
you
together?
guys are gonna
Playing
be,
against each other?
you're working together. I like you. I like you
Sweet.
guys working together. I'm gonna make this short and sweet. So, 3 questions. Good luck, guys. If you do, you get to go to cartography school.
Oh boy,
Ooh.
learn to make our own
Sounds like
maps.
fun. I'm gonna be a geologist.
Yeah,
I don't fucking know.
Okay, so the first question, you should be able to answer this. You guys are smart. Who created the famous world map of Earth that we all know and use still to this day?
Britannica? Is that it?
That sounds.
You're in
pretty
like history
accurate.
class. You're sitting down, teacher pulls down the map. You see the map. You got,
Oh, that's
North
like
America's
the-
over here.
My
South
brother has
America.
one of
Atlas.
these. My brother has one of these at his house, like the full pull down maps of.
Yeah, you're
things.
taking a round
Shit.
object and you're putting it up in front of on a 2D thing.
Yeah.
Things are being stretched so it kind of accommodate for the shape that you're making.
There's different
do you mean
ways
the
that they
Earth is
show it,
flat?
whether it's like the different version.
But you know how, like, as the more north you go or more south you go, things actually get stretched because it's supposed to be curving, but it's not.
Right.
So Greenland looks massive. But yeah.
This isn't multiple choice?
Britannica sounds.
No, because I thought this was an easy one.
I don't know.
Google
It's
Earth.
the what map? It's the
world map?
No,
Webster? Is that Webster? No.
Webster. After he did the dictionary, he
did
did
the
the
map.
map of the world.
Fuck that guy knows everything.
Webster, he knew everything.
I don't know on this one.
No. Okay, you want me to tell you?
Give us a
is
hint.
it?
You gotta.
Yeah, is it-
You're kind of
Starts with an M.
Starts with an M. Merriam-Webster.
Merriam-Webster.
No. It is the Mercator.
Oh, I don't think I
Mercator
would have
map.
gotten that.
Ooh, that's tough.
Remember that?
No,
The
I don't.
Mercator. He's
remember.
the guy who just kind of figured out, like, yeah, you can just do it this way to show the world. But the problem is that a lot of people think things like Russia's really massive and all that stuff. And like,
Russia is pretty
but it's
big.
like, it's big. It is big, but it's just, it looks so big. But it's because you're just stretching the things up north because it should be curving up into a point on the top of the world.
There's the map that
It's
looks
around-
kind of like a
yeah.
W, where it kind of like
Right.
only.
So there's
shows,
things where
like,
they kind of
parts
cut
it.
and they slice it, so they kind of
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do
yeah.
that. So I listened to an excellent episode on the Stuff You Should Know podcast about maps, and I'm like, it was just
Oh.
I wasn't even paying attention, listening to an episode before, and it ran into this one. And so we're talking about maps. I'm like, all right, next time I get up, I'm gonna change this. I'm not listening to this episode. Well, I listened to the whole thing. It was really cool, but they made a great point. It is impossible to make a map of the world just because it's always changing in shape and all that stuff, but just like to draw out this 3D thing on a 2D map is just hard to do. You just can't do
Well,
it.
yeah.
So this is really good, very interesting. So I highly suggest people to check
Cool.
that episode out. Okay.
Well, if
next.
that was the easy one, now we're in trouble.
Yeah, you're in trouble. But these are multiple choice to help you guys
Oh, thank
out.
God.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So the oldest known map of the world, when people first tried taking a stab at saying, hey, this is the world. Here it is, the whole thing. So did they do... Oh, and it's called... And this won't help you, but maybe it will. Imago Mundi. Imago Mundi. And...
Is that a person or is that the name of the
Dave-
map?
That's the name of the map.
Okay.
Was this map drafted in 1600 BC,
Whoa.
Seems way too early.
500 BC, 200 AD.
Yum.
I'm thinking about a lot of people didn't know shit. They had stars. They thought Earth was flat. But like, who?
A lot of people didn't
You
know
don't know what was
shit.
in front of you. But like, who was? When did we? What's the oldest known map where we said, "Hey, these people took a shot at drawing the world map"?
What was option 2?
500 BC. So was that the 6th
500.
century?
Okay.
Is that right?
No.
What? No, it was BC, right?
BC is not a century.
Yeah, it's
really.
before the centuries.
Oh, duh. Yeah, sorry.
1600
Before
BC.
centuries. That's all BC stands for. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they knew shit in BC.
No, they knew shit. That was like the Chinese
They knew
dynasty was in BC and shit.
they knew some shit, but I don't know. Maybe 500. I think B might be the.
That's what I was thinking. 500 BC. I don't
Because
know.
200 AD, like they probably knew a bit more.
Yeah,
but
I
think
agree.
probably- Brandon said the first shot at
Right,
the
so
map.
it probably was pretty shitty.
Yeah, it was not a good map.
Yeah. 500. Nah, I don't know. 500 sounds like he made that up. Now I'm just using my logic because he's like, oh,
16
if it was
1600.
1600, if it was 1600, that sounds more believable. Then he's like, come up with 500 BC, but I don't know. 1600 too early?
It seems like that was a long ass time ago.
All right, let's go 5.
Five's good, yeah.
500 BC is correct.
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
It's
Nice.
the Babylonian map.
Nice.
Imago Mundi.
Mm.
Babylonians.
I'd like to see this map. What was it called?
Yep, you can Imago, so it's like the word image, but instead of an E at the end, put an O. Mundi, Mundi. And it's just a circle with like another circle and just like things. But yeah, there's but the guy at the time took a shot
the
at
oldest surviving map. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, this map sucks.
Cool. Yep. But at the time, for a human being to think about that and think about, I don't know. He also thought that the world was a globe. He didn't think it was flat, which is really
I was going to say, it is a circle. Like Europe's at the top and Ethiopia's at the bottom, and that's it.
Yeah.
Greece is essentially like the middle of the world.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, of course. And that's where everybody starts. You think you're the center of the universe. That's how it went down for science for a long time. Okay, last question, guys. So, 0-1. What year has the first map with the word America written on it?
1776.
I will give you dates. 1494, 1507, 1520. So when did we discover? When did the East discover the West?
1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. We all know that.
Okay.
Yes.
So
1492. Yeah. So was it 1494, 1507, or 1520?
Well,
how
Columbus
soon were they able to start writing down the word America?
Columbus didn't think he was in America when he first.
Well, America didn't have a name, right? You know, it wasn't like, "Hey, I found America. Oh, that's where it was."
Well, right.
Like somebody at some point put. But when did somebody say, "Hey, that land over there, America"? When did they call it America?
1494.
It's got to be one of the. It's too quick. Yeah. Like he wouldn't have been able to get back to Europe to like be like, "Yo, dudes, this is fucking America."
Here's what it looked like.
Right.
What do you want to call it?
Like, yeah, 1494 seems too soon.
And like America, there's
a person's name, I think too. I think it was just the guy's name. He just wrote down his name on it, and they just
John
ran with
America.
it, I think.
And there's
North. I think it was just
John America. And there's North and South America, so like it could be.
Good point. And technically, Columbus discovered more of the southern part of America of the.
So what was it?
It's got 1494.
Okay.
2 years after discovering it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Dave makes a great point. It was a voyage. You got to go there, hang out, and then come back. And then word travel to get out there and slap a name on and stuff. 1507.
Kill some Native Americans.
About 15 years later, you know. And then 1520,
It's got to be one of those 15.
almost 30
it's
years
gotta be
later.
15.
I'm almost thinking that it's 1507 because that's about, you get there, you come back, you tell people, yo,
You
I
tell
found this
people,
new place.
yo, bring some other people
Yo,
back.
I found this new place. Check it out. 1507 or 1520 is like, did it really take them like 28 years to like be like, yo, this is America?
Well, I don't know.
15 years.
Again, it's not that they discovered the land and getting the word out there, but it was calling it America and labeling it America on a map, and then saying,
right.
"Hey, everybody, that over there that we found, America."
Listen, it could take a back then. It probably took a while to fucking make a map, and name a landmass. I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. It was not 1494.
Well, we already knew that.
Well, we know that.
Yeah. Well,
50-50 shot. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on either
I'm
one.
leaning towards the 1507. I think by the time they got back, they're like, yo,
Okay.
we're gonna take some more boats over here. Where are we going? We're going to America.
And there just happened to be a guy named John America that said,
Yeah,
"This is America now."
sure.
That's
I'm sure he was probably French or Italian.
No, that's exactly how it happened.
I don't know, man. Yeah, America.
All right, let's
go.
go.
1507.
Let's go with
1507. 1507. Locking in.
Final
The correct answer to that question was 1507.
Yeah,
look at
let's
you guys.
go.
Very smart.
Fucking big brains.
That's it. That was it. 3 questions. So Mercator, the Babylonians in 500 BC, and America was on a map for the first time, we think,
1507.
in 1507. So,
Right.
which I think is actually pretty quick.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty. Think about it. Just like
that's
how
why
long,
I was
like,
debating
things took
whether
to move
it
around.
was. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, leading towards 1520. Things
gotta
things were a process back then.
Right.
Naming stuff.
But it is like
drawing
a big deal. But think about it. Like what happened? Well, they were going to another country, India, I believe it was, or China, right? But you see, apparently they found a whole other continent out there.
Just imagine.
Holy
I couldn't
shit.
imagine.
Like
thinking
that must have been
that.
like blown. Like, oh my god.
Well, they thought they were gonna fall off the fucking
planet.
Yeah, they thought they were gonna fall off the fucking edge of the world if they sailed too far in the
no, I don't think
the ocean.
I think they thought
they
it was
did.
round.
That's why they were scared to go. That's why Columbus took the voyage.
No, is that really is that really why?
Yes.
I mean, I know they're religious, but I think they were pretty smart enough back then. Not everybody thought the world was flat.
They didn't know what the fuck was over there.
They didn't fucking know. They
dumb. Thought India was over there.
They're dumb.
No, they thought if you kept going, you would find. No, they knew it was round. They would if you keep. They just didn't know that if you kept going in this massive ocean, you'll find another continent.
They didn't know what was over there. Well, clearly they didn't because they discovered America.
All right, you got me. Well, yeah. All right. Anywho, I don't know. Not a history lesson. I don't know this stuff.
I'm just yanking your chain.
Educated in Columbus's day, knew quite well that the Earth was not flat but round.
Yeah.
From the Washington Post.
Well, I'm not talking about the well-educated. I'm talking about the dumbasses.
Dumbasses in the boat.
Well, dumbasses today also don't know shit, and
some people still think the world is flat, so that doesn't mean anything.
The flat earthers are coming out now are just like mind-boggling. Like I don't know,
it's insane.
It must be a joke, and I just don't get it. Because to think that
it's not a joke. People are dumb.
I would if you're a flat earther listening to our podcast, we want you as a guest on the show. I would love to pick your brain.
I don't know if I do.
That would be,
I don't know about that.
That would
be doing an Eric anime with you.
I'm just so curious of what your thought process is, but hey, each their own.
If you want to go down that rabbit hole, seriously, go on YouTube. They believe in some.
I think I would just get too angry.
Wild stuff. It's fascinating.
Whatever.
But anywho, that's not what we're talking. This episode was dedicated to the great people who made awesome maps. Thank you for making those really good ones. And the ones that were icon vomit and doing all that stuff, slapping your hands. Don't do that anymore. Please stop. Ubisoft, we're looking at
as long as there's options to turn that stuff off, it's sort of excusable, but still
fine. But
not great.
prompt me when I open up the map, so
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah.
Okay, that is it. Thank you guys. You're gonna enjoy cartography school, and
Awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, go draw your backyard or something like that.
My mouse pad right in front of me is a giant Middle Earth map as well. So,
Oh,
dude,
shit.
you know,
so good.
I don't know if they have this for Star Wars. We don't really know official maps of any of the worlds in Star Wars, but we do know Lord of the Rings, right? Like, aren't they locked? Like, I know Game of Thrones definitely has an official map, like it's down to like the detail. But when I love that, but video games is another great place because you have to play in it, which is really cool. Like that map is the map. So if you really like that map, it's not going to change. You know, where like Star Wars, I don't know what Tatooine really looks like. It's not really mapped out. They call it a desert planet, but the whole planet's a desert planet. Makes no sense.
There's no biomes in
makes
Star
no
Wars.
sense.
It's just like desert planet, cold
Yeah.
planet,
Water planet. Yeah.
city planet. Like, yeah, that's
Right.
it.
Well, they don't call we label it that from the movies, from the scenes, but it's silly to think that Tatooine is just a whole planet that's just a desert. There'd be no oxygen. There needs to be some kind of life to create. Well, I guess. Well, I don't know why I'm talking about.
We can't get into this now.
Wa-
We're at the end of the
water,
episode.
Where am I going?
Polar ice caps. You know, who knows?
Yeah, who
What the
knows?
fuck's going
I
on
don't know.
Tatooine?
Anywho,
Oh,
let's
man.
end this. God
All
damn
right,
it! Here
let's
I'm running
get
this long.
the fuck out
Eric,
of here.
close us out of here.
All right. Well, if you want to get in contact with us, we are at the Nomads of Fantasy on Instagram and Twitter. Check out our TikTok at the Nomads of Fantasy. You can go to our YouTube channel again to watch this video, see some cool maps at youtube.com/@nomadsoffantasy. Join our Discord, the nomadsoffantasy.com/discord. Play our game, whatmapgame.com.
Fuck yeah.
Please.
Get some video game apps. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you this week. So with that, safe travels.